Everybody, Jason Burmis here, and I've been wanting to do this video for the last couple of days because, number one, this really isn't that new of a thing. We now know that people in power in the upper echelons of our government, you know, the Dennis Hassards of the world, and the upper echelons of the entertainment industry, the Bryan Singers of the world, and now the upper echelons of the royal family, which people have been talking about for decades, are also being outed as the child predators they are. But the coverage to me is quite disturbing, and we'll get to that in a moment. So who are you seeing looking at Prince Charles so lovingly? And let me tell you, although the background is different, this is actually from a real picture, and it is about to scale. So obviously they look related because they are. He's the cousin of the Queen. He's the viceroy to India because, you know, even then, during World War II and beyond, royalty was a thing we needed. We definitely need it in 2019. Rule by bloodline. An aristocratic class that, you know, is accountable to nobody. And he mentored Charles. You know, a lot of them, including, and you're going to see Charles giving a memorial speech to the guy. This was like his quote-unquote second father, if you will. And when I say I'm disturbed about the coverage of it, it's manyfold. It's because there were 3 decades of surveillance on this man by U.S. intelligence that found out that he was a homosexual with lust for young boys. Let's just get this out of the way. I understand that the terminology at the time may have been different, but today it's called pedophile, child predator, child abuser, monster. That's what they are. Okay? And of course, he was never punished for his crimes, and we're going to go over his death and how that even suggests more of his pedophilia. All right, so, you know, this is really par for the course, but again, upsetting coverage because those words that I just used to describe, they're not used in this article, and they are not used in this article either. And by the way, you're not seeing much of this in the United States. In fact, although they're the headlines, they're almost second fiddle in the story, which is upsetting to me. And a lot of talk is being done about Lord Mountbatten. Okay, thank you, Amy Dye. I appreciate that super chat because there's a new documentary about his death. Okay, and if you take a look, it is Dead, 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 the day Lord Mountbatten, 2 boys, 1 woman, and 18 soldiers died. Okay? And it's all about how his boat was blown up, and he and I believe his wife, his grandson, who was a teenage boy at the time, and then his boat boy also were killed on that. Some 14 or 15-year-old boy. There's different accounts in these stories, you know, and, you know, again, that's what, oh, look, he's got a child on the day Mountbatten died review, an atrocity that still haunts lives for decades on. And this is a big puff piece. I read this. It's a huge puff piece, a love story for this guy, and how terrible it is that he died at the hands of the IRA. Apparently there was a bomb put to the boat underneath. But let's get into the monster, because he's a monster. And by the way, we're going to give credit where credit is due. By the way, I'm not endorsing everything that David Icke says, but when people report the truth, and it comes out as the truth, before the mainstream will touch it, we give credit. And say what you want about Icke. I certainly don't believe in interdimensional lizard people, etc., etc. I want to get that fully out of the way. It's just like recently I published a segment of a Jordan Maxwell interview, and I'm going to be publishing more of those. That doesn't mean I agree with Maxwell. I disagree with Maxwell on a lot of things, but I think different voices should be heard. But if you look, this is a tweet from 2015, okay? So this tweet is now 4 years old. Lord Mountbatten, who brought Seville into royal inner circle, is named over Kincora child abuse. And so this stuff was out there. UK police, we believe witness who says an MP murdered a boy during an abuse party. Okay? So, Ike's all over this, and they're making documentaries about the day Mountbatten died. So let's just go to this coverage, okay? Let's see it. The celebrated war hero, who was the last viceroy of India, and his wife, Edwina Mountbatten, were described as persons of extremely low morals in intelligence files, which claim both frequently had extramarital affairs. And by the way, his wife was more than likely a monster as well. That's alluded to in this article. I'd like to get my hands on these documents because I'm sure a lot has been glossed over here, even though what they've said. I'm pretty sure there's probably a lot of accounts in there. We should get our hands on them. And by the way, we don't even know that all of these documents are even being declassified. All right? The 75-year-old FBI documents came out after being obtained through a Freedom of Information request made by British historian Andrew Loney for his new biography, The Mountbattens, Their Lives and Loves. The files were started in February 1944 following Mountbatten's appointment as Supreme Allied Commander of Southeast Asia. In one interview on another matter with author and socialite Elizabeth de la Poor Beresford, Baroness Diocese, my God, can we get rid of royalty already? Can we end the insanity so I don't have to say ridiculous names like that? My God, at the very least. She claimed Mountbatten had a penchant for young men that made him an unfit man to direct any sort of military operations, the Sunday Times reports. We're going to go to that in a moment. I want to come back here. All right, and there you see Charles. Look at all these medals. There's him and his monster wife. She stated that Lord Mountbatten was known to be a homosexual with a perversion for young boys. You notice how they even tried to spin it there in their own words with young men? No, young boys is what she said. Young boys. All right? Rumors of Mountbatten's homosexuality had circulated for decades. Notice they keep saying homosexuality? Let's talk a child predator with his group of gay friends allegedly referring to him by the nickname Mountbatten. My God. And it's one of those things, again, look at this guy. Never served a day in prison, I can promise you that. Okay? Agents opened further files on Mountbatten, described by Prince Charles and his grandfather, the grandfather I never had, after World War II, after he became NATO commander of the Allied forces in the Mediterranean. Yes, NATO command. See, this is why we should have globalism. Because we want military officials that have royal bloodlines to decide what they're going to do to third and second world nations who are outside of their scope of power. That's what we need. We need guys like Mountbatten, who is molesting children and allegedly at parties where children are taken out at abuse parties. Now, I just want to point out, as we do this video, we give credit where credit is due. And if you go all the way back to Children of the Matrix and you get through it and you start talking about the House of Rothschilds in Windsor, yeah, you'll get into what David Icke had to say about Lord Mountbatten all those years ago back in the 90s. So, listen, I'm not a lizard person guy. I just want to get it out. But Icke has remained anti-war, and Mountbatten was someone he literally named, not only in this book as an evil Satanist, but if you want to read this one, we're going to. It's here. This is from 2014. And remember, we're concerned about the day he died. And by the way, the day he died, once again, on a boat, IRA bomb, 2 young boys, one being his grandson, one being his 15-year-old boat boy, and his wife were killed on this, along with 13 others. Okay? So UK police, we believe witness who says an MP murdered a boy during an abuse party. And this is that VIP pedophile network, Jimmy Savile, that we just talked about. I've done videos on Savile. Believe the hype, man. There's a reason he got knighted. There's a reason Prince Charles loved him. There's a reason he was holding giant checks with Margaret Thatcher on behalf of poor children. That's how these monsters fucking do it. All right? Metropolitan Police have appealed for men who were sexually abused as children to come forward as part of their investigation into the murders of 3 boys during the 1970s. Detective Superintendent Kenny MacDonald told a press conference in London today that he believes the allegations of a witness named only as Nick, who claims he saw a then sitting Conservative MP strangle a young boy during a sex abuse party. Other detectives, and I believe what Nick says is being credible and true, hence why we are investigating the allegations he's made to us. The Independent reports MacDonald is saying in a statement that the detective said, "Today, I want to appeal directly to those young boys, now men, who were also subject to abuse at the hands of these men. I believe that there were other boys who were abused or who were present while the abuse took place. I would ask you to trust me. I will support you, and I will do everything in my power to find those responsible and bring them to justice. I need your accounts to help me do that." The investigation, known as Operation Midland, is centered around a flat at Dolphin Square, a block of exclusive apartments in the Pimlico neighborhood of London. It was launched last month after Nick came forward to say he had been raped and abused from the age of 7 to 16 at an apartment by VIP pedophile ring, including prominent politicians, judges, and senior police officers. Okay? And by the way, I mean, if you want to see some of the other disturbing highlights of this, a member of the pedophile ring deliberately ran over and killed a 10 or 11-year-old boy in London in 1979 in what he saw as a warning to other victims to stay silent. And you wonder why I do this. People ask me sometimes why I do this, and I'm like, well, you know, these monsters are still out there. They're still activated. They're still celebrated even after they're dead in many cases. The Day Mountbatten Died review. An atrocity that still haunts lives for decades on. But it's the lives of his family. We're worried about them, not the lives of the probably countless children that he abused. And remember, you know, our intelligence agencies, they know this. The FBI knows this, and he still becomes the NATO allied commander. What the fuck does that tell you about our global system? It needs to change. It needs to change big time. So guys, in case you didn't know, and let's jump over here really quick. I'm doing 3, 4, 5, 6, sometimes 7 videos a day. I did Arc to Midnight, Caravan to Midnight recently. I just did the Tinfoil Hat podcast. If it's not up today, it'll be up tomorrow. Everything Epstein. Tomorrow I am going to be having Emma on from themindunleashed.com with some new and interesting Epstein developments. I'm also going to be doing an Epstein live stream a little bit later. So if you're new to this, if you like real news that goes beyond that left-right bullshit political spectrum, if you want to hear it straight, that's what I'm trying to do here. Thumbs this up, share it, join the Burmese Brigade, ring those bells for notifications. And guys, we are on month 3. I think this is actually day 3. It's either day 2 or 3 of this. I think it's day 3. We've raised $300 so far. Let's keep it going. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to do this for a living. It is 2 days ago, so this is the 3rd day of it. And that's how I'm doing it. That's how I'm able to go through this content, present it to people, hopefully in a very digestible way in, you know, these 10 to 15-minute segments. And hopefully we're waking people up because I've had enough of it. I don't think we should be celebrating a royal bloodline class that shouldn't exist in the first place, especially when they are being surveilled and abusing children for decades. Just my 2 cents. With that being said, guys, I'll see you on the flip side.